And we are recording.
Okay. And I have 6 o'clock, so let's get this show on the road. All right, this is the Suamico Village Board meeting for Monday, June 15th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. So at this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And just a reminder, anybody coming forward and speaking this evening, please provide your name and address into the microphone for the public record, if you would. So at this time, I would look and let it be noted that we are a powerful group of only 5 this evening. We are missing 2 members. So I would look for a motion to approve the evening's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I have Trustee Stevens on the far end who wishes to offer a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And I have a second from Trustee Eckert this evening. Thank you both very much. Any other further discussion or questions on the agenda this evening? All in favor of approval of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? I believe that motion carries 5-0. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay. Item number 5 this evening are public appearances. Public appearances is reserved for all of you. Anyone who wishes to come forward and speak on an item not on the agenda, just again, it's your opportunity to speak to anything that's on your mind that is not on the agenda. If you are here for an agenda item, we'll give you every opportunity possible to allow you to come forward and speak to what's on your mind. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who wishes to come forward and speak to an item not on the agenda? Anyone? Last time, anyone wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? Seeing no one, we will move on to item number 6. Item number 6 this evening is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of previous minutes of the village board dated June 1st, 2026. Item B, May 2026 Treasurer's Report. Item C, 2026 Municipal Court Report. Item D, May 2026 Recreational Report. And item E, 2026-27 Tobacco Licenses. Is there discussion on the items on the consent agenda? I would offer one comment. Potentially anyone? So very excited about our bike race this weekend, our first bike race. I'm sure you'll be very glad that it's over with when it's over with. Well, with all the planning that's gone in. How many riders are we expecting?
It should be about over 300 riders.
300 riders.
Yeah. So yeah, the community's been working hard with local businesses, and we got a lot of fun things planned for Sunday, and hopefully you guys can all come out downtown and take part and check it out.
I will definitely be there. I'm looking forward to it. Also, the Park and Rec report, as I was reviewing the Park and Rec report, I was doing some quick math in my head. So when I was looking at all of the participants for the Park and Rec programs, and this was for a month, there were 200, I had 200, over 200 individuals, and that doesn't count how many people were here for the fishing, the day of fishing. I think that was in April, though, wasn't it?
That was in May.
Oh, it was in May. So at least 200 participants in all of these various classes and goings-on that we have with Park and Rec here in the village. And just thinking to myself, you know, if each one of those individuals, you know, when they come to Suamico, let's just say they go to a gas station, they buy a soda and a bag of chips, for example, or something. If they all spend $5, that's an additional $1,000 worth of revenue that comes into the village, that comes to village businesses. And you got to know they spend a whole lot more. You know, Rustique getting busy, other places. So I think when we look at the total value of Park and Rec, it's so much beyond the individual programs themselves. 60 participants in stained glass. You can't find that program anywhere else in the county that I'm aware of, which is great. But there's also that extended value that the Park and Rec programs provide. And for some reason, I'm sure most of it has to do with you. The programs really seem to bring in a lot of folks, and that's just a great thing. So I always get a kick out of reading. I enjoy reading the Park and Rec report almost as much as I like the Treasurer's report.
And if I could just add that May was, if you note, that was also a very busy month for rentals too. So that obviously brings a lot of people in. Every single weekend, our shelters at Idlewild and Calavera are rented and used, and the DPW guys do a great job getting that shelter ready, cleaning it up, and ready for the next week. So.
Yeah, I
that's-
saw that. Idlewild had 12 rentals
yeah,
just
we had-
last month.
That's quite a bit for May, so.
That's big. So, great stuff. So anyway, those are my observations. Anyone else on the consent agenda? Be happy to look for a motion then.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Trustee Eckert has offered a motion this evening to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from trustee Sheedy this evening. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. All right, administration items. Item A, Sheedy 5 Development Agreement. Administrator Kaker.
Thank you. So a contingency of the Sheedy 5 plat approval was the execution of a development agreement. Included in your packet is a development agreement that would fulfill this requirement. Exhibit 2 outlines an estimate of expected construction costs for the public improvements. The developer will guarantee the funds for the project in the form of a cash escrow, and additional funds are included to mitigate stormwater concerns related to the Sheedy 2 development. Any comments, questions, or concerns on this one?
Anyone? Okay. Any other further discussion? Any more other further input on this? Everybody understand it? Do we need to open this up for public comment?
No.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the Sheedy 5 development agreement.
Trustee Eckert has offered a motion to approve the Sheedy 5 development agreement. Is there a second? I'll offer a second on that. All right, we'll do a roll call on this, please.
Trustee Eckert.
Aye.
Trustee McKeefery.
Aye.
Trustee Sheedy.
Aye.
Trustee Stevens.
Aye.
President Van Raza.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, we are off to item 8, Planning Commission. Item 8A is Resolution 26008, a preliminary resolution indicating the village's intent to vacate the discontinued right-of-way of Cardinal Lane being part of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 33T25N R20E. Zoning Administrator Dunks, if you would.
Thank you. Prior to 2005, Cardinal Lane had intersected with White Pine and Velp. In 2004-5-ish, Cardinal Lane was redirected to go parallel to the Escanaba Lake Superior Railroad out to White Pine. The portion in black on your screen was discontinued. We hadn't formally vacated it. One of the reasons was the crossing of the railroad. We had hoped to be able to use that in exchange for a new crossing somewhere else. They've since voided that, so it has no value to us as a crossing. It no longer exists anyway. And the other was to get the properties more under common ownership, so we'd get a decent development in there when we had that, which we have now with the chambers owning a large portion, especially east of the railroad tracks. There's just one other parcel that is not within their holding, so they would like to see that so they can better develop this property, get some interest in the property as a whole, as opposed to broken up little pieces. Again, this vacation is only for the village right away. I don't believe we have any utilities in there that need to be vacated. Any private utilities within there that have easements, they'd have to take those up with those different utilities to have those vacated if they need to be. It's expected that the adjacent properties would each receive half of this right away. We have no evidence that anybody dedicated more or less of that. This goes way, way back, so that's the way county works it. You just get half of the right of way if it's vacated. The papers that were in front of you this evening are the Exhibit A that goes along with that resolution. Planning and zoning did recommend the vacation of Cardinal, that portion of Cardinal Lane. Thank you.
All right, are there questions on this item for zoning administrator Dunks?
I think way back in the day, we used to talk about that being possibly like a commercial area with water and sewer, but we'd have to have the pipe that's currently on Mulligan, right? It would have to come that far.
In order for this to, yes, we're gonna want this developed with sewer and
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
And that's the only way they're gonna get decent commercial in there
Sure.
anyway. But it is,
Yeah.
yes, it's all, pretty much all commercial zone properties, so.
no, I'm good.
Okay,
So this intersection is the same one we had the temporary on with the construction, and there was some desire to add lights to this intersection. And I think we turned it down inevitably. But if we were to do this, does that somehow inhibit any future changes?
No, we've kept, Andy recommended that we don't give the entire area up there in black. There's a little triangle up on the northeast corner of that.
Might be black and white on your screen though, but if you look up there, there's a little green triangle.
yep,
So we would still.
So
maintain-
that corner is being kept as village right of way, so that if we ever install the roundabout or anything up there, we wouldn't have to purchase back right of way.
Right, okay.
So it
perfect.
should fit in that area then.
Thank you, yep, perfect then.
And the county has to be on board with it too, because that's a county road.
okay. Any other questions? None? Look for a motion?
Motion to approve the preliminary resolution 26008, indicating the village's intent to vacate the discontinued portion of Cardinal Lane as identified on Exhibit A.
Thank you. Trustee McKeefery has offered a motion of approval for Resolution 26008 as stated. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Trustee Stevens. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Trustee McKeefery for approval of Resolution 26008. That motion has been seconded by Trustee Stevens. Any further question or discussion from the board? Hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Trustee McKeefery.
Aye.
Trustee Sheedy.
Aye.
Trustee Stevens.
Aye.
Trustee Eckert.
Aye.
President Van Rossum.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 8B this evening is an area development plan for Chambers Land and Investment Enterprises. Zoning Administrator Dunks, if you would.
Yes, we are looking at a total of about 387 acres here. It does have various zoning on it, from RS1 to rural residential, business, and ag. This is just the beginning processes in securing a plan for the remainder of the properties within Chambers Holdings and a few adjacent properties. If the ADP is approved, the likely process would be then to do the PDD to formally lock in the plan with the area development plan as the base for that plan development district. As the main document, it's difficult to go through any rezoning until the plotting occurs, because a lot of what you're seeing in front of you crosses various parcel lines, with these all being larger parcels. They're not all being developed under the same zoning. So the best way to secure that zoning so that they know they can move forward as this process moves is to do the plan development overlay on it, and then when a parcel is platted off, the proper zonings would take place at that time. But they don't have, once they get this rolling, they don't have to worry about changes happening 5 years down the line and screwing up their development plans, basically. I mean, this isn't cheap to go into this and put in all those roads and infrastructure and to know is going to happen, they need to secure that. The layout does include a redesign right now at White Pine. That was mainly because of the cost of moving some utilities that are on the Chambers Bar property. It does appear that those utilities aren't going to be that extensive to move. Public Works' opinion is that that road would be able to be aligned up correctly with White Pine right now without having to acquire additional land to the north there. That can be hashed out later on when the full plating takes place, but again, this is just a concept. Your Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the ADP as submitted. Thank you.
Okay. Are there questions for zoning administrator Dunks on this?
I think it's way too dense. Especially like along Velp there, you're like zoned for apartments, and that's already a very busy street. Getting back to that pipe on Mulligan and Rainbow, did you ever determine how many connections you would need to get it to the White Pine? I mean, to get that pipe that far, how many connections would you actually need for
I
that?
didn't figure that.
Well, that's really all up for negotiation with the developer. That's nothing that the village has committed to paying for yet.
But I
But-
mean, in order to do something like that, you would have to have an idea. Because,
And I can tell you, it's about 200 connections.
I mean, I don't think you need to be that dense.
Yeah, the back of the napkin math is about 200 connections.
Okay.
Are there other questions for zoning administrator Dunks on this? I mean, I got to see this at the comprehensive, or the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we had, the full house with the comprehensive planning committee in there too, that was here in advance and actually took this in. And I think there was, I wouldn't speak for everybody. There wasn't a lot of discussion on it. To me, I think where we're at with this plan right now, when I look at, and I understand where you're coming from, Trustee Eckert, I don't necessarily agree with you, only because I don't know what else, that piece of property, with as busy as Velp is currently, I think that's probably a good fit for RS3, depending on whatever else everything looks like, and depending on what kind of development that RS3 is going to be, especially since you have some mixed commercial in there and mixed neighborhood business. So when I look at the larger scope of this development, what is before us, and I see some condos in the back, and I see the residential, and given where it's at, and then having that access to business and neighborhood business, I'd like to see this go forward and see where it comes. Where it comes out. I think this is great for sewer and water folks to add those users, and I think it's got some real potential, and I think it's a good use for the land the way it is currently. So I'd like to see it go forward.
All this explosion of new residents is going to want more services too than we're not spending right now. They're going to expect more services, and it kind of changes the landscape. It certainly changes the traffic. I think it's too dense.
Well, you're never gonna get single-family homes to sell around that tavern. It just doesn't make logical sense. They're not gonna.
I'm not going to move in there. Nobody with a family is going to move in there, but I think that there's a lot of steps, going forward in this, that we can look at this development as it goes forward. I don't know. We can, we can agree to disagree, I guess. Are there others?
I sat through the same session as you did, and this is supportive of the zoning changes that we made 6 months ago. And if it really wasn't for some of those changes, we wouldn't be seeing these types of things. And so I'm supportive of advancing this. I guess I'd like to learn a little bit more from Trustee Eckert about what additional services that this group might want other than the services that we already have. But this is probably exactly what we're looking for to help offset some of the water fees that are coming our way and the development of this land.
They're gonna want parks and sidewalks. We're gonna have to be building new schools. We're gonna have to, there's a lot of things.
Well, demand is there for the lots, whether it's in Howard or in Suamico. There's a need for the housing. It's going to continue to happen. It's still gonna impact your schools, whether it's in Howard or in Suamico. It's still gonna cause that crowding if that's a problem. It's just that Howard's gonna get all the tax benefits of the improvements if we do nothing. Our previous zoning and other factors have brought your Seward residential to a halt. We're lucky if we have 5 lots left to put homes on in water-served areas right now. Through May of this year, we had 4 homes in the sewer and water, 3 of those also had water. We had 16 through the same period in 2024. That is a substantial drop. The only explanation is the fact we just don't have anywhere to put them. Moving forward, you have a $9 million well project that you need to pay for. If we go back to the density that we've tried to get them to develop on, you're gonna have the same effect that you've had for the last 10 years.
Well, it already is gonna be more dense because the single-family lots can be smaller now. There'd be the duplexes and condos sprinkled in, but it doesn't need to be this dense. And either way, there's going to be something there that's going to give us those connections that we need. But I think it would be good to know what the minimum is to get that pipe out to that point. It doesn't have to be that dense.
Is your concern the RS3 density?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what would be your proposal? There's 2 roads in the back. Those are gonna be private roads in the back. Would it be there you believe it's too dense, or is it along Velp?
Well, I'm concerned about the traffic along Velp. Yeah, you've got 3 of them right there. I mean, if every other place is doing apartments the way they are, is there really that need? I don't believe there is. Do you have to have 3 areas? That's a lot.
Well, I think they're different areas. I think when you're on those private roads, you're talking about condos, in all likelihood, not necessarily, apartments.
Possibly. I mean, you're giving away that ability to,
No, your plan development will outline more what those various areas are asking for. You can have that plan development as detailed as you would like. Those 2 areas that are right now shown as condo developments, through that PDD can be granted that approval, and at time of plating, you rezone it to the appropriate. It could stay RS1 and still have the PDD, which allowed for that. We just need a residential zoning over it, whether it's ag or a different zoning today, rural residential. I'm not sure what's all in here, but there's ways to address that through the PDD. I can't say what it's gonna take to get that sewer to Velp Avenue, and you can't expect this entire development, or this development to pay that entire cost.
Well, that's why you gotta know your minimum number, and then we have to determine if the connection fees are gonna pay for it, or how much the developer will pay. Which is another conversation for a different
But
day.
the benefit to the village is if we can make this palatable for them, we get that sewer west developed, or we get nothing. This is the key property to us getting sewer west developed.
But you don't have to have all the R3s.
No, you don't, if they're willing to eliminate that.
The R3s having that proportion of R3s in here is utilizing property that typically is going to be difficult to sell for single-family lots because of its proximity to businesses. And the other thing is, there's a level of profitability to that helps to make the whole development profitable. Without that piece of it, and we don't know this for sure, but without that piece of it, I'm not sure that we've been looking for this piece of property to develop as long as I've been here. And it is the hitch pin for moving across Velp. That piece of R3 development, whatever that might look like, that piece of development is what makes the majority of this profitable. That's my interpretation of it. I don't know that you move forward without it. And, just so we're laying, and Trustee Eckert, you kind of touched on this a little bit too. There's a significant expense of infrastructure in here, and there's going to be, skin in the game from the developer certainly, but I think there's going to be, we have to go into this eyes wide open that there's going to be expectations for the village in supporting this infrastructure in some way, shape, or form as well. So, as we're thinking about this, like I said, we need to have, and Trustee Eckert, you kind of pointed to that, so just to put some emphasis on it. Are there other questions or comments on this?
My understanding too, this was a 20-year vision too. I think I heard that night. I heard it was about a 20-year plan.
You did hear that?
You did hear that. I don't know that the village is going to be supportive of
Right.
it taking 20 years for this
Right.
to happen.
Yeah, that was the question that came up, is how do we accelerate this type of development?
Okay.
How do we get the questions regarding the water and the sewer answered?
We just have to figure out how much it's gonna cost based on the estimates that we have and how many connections are available. Figure out what could work and what would really work.
And if that pipe will be paid for with connection fees or a percentage from the developer as well?
Well, that's going to be in a negotiation process through the village. We're not going to answer that question today.
Yeah,
in
I
open
realize
session,
that, but these are the steps we need to take.
Right. Right, but first, the developer wants to know if you're open to the concept. And if you're open to the concept, we can move on to the next level of conversations about who's paying for what and how much. But we're not gonna get to that point unless the board's okay with the concept.
Mr. Chambers, I see you're here. Is there, Mr. Verbeck here too? I'm sorry. Would you like to come forward? Is there anything you'd like to add?
A couple less people than your Brown County meeting.
Yeah, the Brown County meeting was interesting. Steve Beta with Veerberger. We developed the plan for the Chambers family. I'll just kind of walk through it real quick so you can understand the different zoning types the way we imagine this would happen. Most of you may not know, but there's a lot of wetlands in here. A lot of the green spaces that we show are wetlands, and we have buffers off those wetlands, and so they're much more challenging to develop than a traditional, non-wetland encumbered property. So if we start up on the top right of the picture over here, we have those two cul-de-sacs, kind of the lighter brown. We envision those being some sort of condominium developments because those areas just aren't big enough to put any kind of multifamily, like a large multifamily buildings in there. They're not big enough for that. You can see we have a few footprints of house pockets in there, pods, I should say, in there. And that's kind of what we're seeing. the way that's even set up right now, we don't have wetland delineations completed, so we really don't know exactly where they're gonna be, but at least it's our best guess today at what that can be as far as a concept. You know, just looking at the one on the right, that, the way it sits right now, is not even economically feasible to really do. Anytime you put in a one-sided road, it's challenging to get it in at best and make it worthwhile. It just doesn't work out mathematically. Then anyway, when we move into the center of the project, we have the lighter yellow zoning. That's more of the, you know, I think the 80-foot lots. Steve, you might have to help me. I think those are 80-foot lots. When we get into the purple, we go to the lower, the purple in the middle of the cul-de-sac. We went to some smaller lots. Those are like 60-foot lots. Just put one little pocket of 60-foot lots in there. And then as we move to the south, we have two regional stormwater facilities that would happen. As Andy mentioned, the sanitary sewer is to the east of this project, so the project sewer has to come from the east and go to the west in order for this all to happen. You know, how much of that the family can bite off, we're not quite sure. We just have to figure out, you know, what the market, you know, what the market's asking for as far as, you know, are we gonna develop 30 acres, 20 acres, or 50 acres? We just don't know that yet. As we move close to that intersection where the Chambers Hill Bar is, that street vacation that we just talked about in the previous agenda item is across the street, that purple corner. You know, getting the sewer up there opens up that corner to a really nice project now that we're hopefully gonna vacate that street in there. They own a bunch of those properties. We can combine them all together. Now they have a nice 3 or 4 acre site that somebody would be interested in. You know, it's at least got some value then for them and for the village. Of course, the Chamber Hill Bar across the street, and then to the north of that, the Red Square, we basically have that kind of like a neighborhood commercial more, something a little bit more conducive to what the residential zoning would be around that. So the residential zoning around the Red Square and then along Velp Avenue, we were thinking more of like a 3 or 4 unit townhouse type thing. Again, there's a lot of driveways out to Velp Avenue, but the spacing for driveways with the county is 100-foot spacing, so it's real hard to put those driveways out there and have them be safe. We don't like to do that anymore. The county doesn't like it. So all those driveways with access to the inside and would filter back out through the 2 roads that you can see that connect to Velp. So again, the zoning around there is more of like a townhome type zoning, maybe a 2-unit type, you know, zoning, depending on how we would do that. We're not quite sure. They don't have a building plan for that, but that would basically go around that neighborhood commercial. And so the neighborhood commercial typically can be, you know, something that's probably closed in the evening but open during the day, like a dentist's office or a hairdresser, things like that, are more of a neighborhood type use. Yes, we do have some multifamily to the south of the bar, but again, it's zoning 101. What do you put next to a bar? You know, you don't put nobody's gonna buy a residential home next to that, as you mentioned. You put multifamily next to that, and that's the best thing that can go next to that. It isn't a lot of buildings. Is there a need for multifamily? 100%. This site would be built tomorrow if we had the sewer sitting there. Somebody would buy it and want to build it. If you look back at the last multifamily site in Suamico, I don't even remember the last one that was built. I know there's one up towards, up Velp a little bit farther, those condos that are sitting there, like 4 or 6 unit buildings, but those have been sitting there for many, many years, just for other reasons, I think. So, but anyway, it's a good plan. We think we can make this work. If we can get through this road patterning and thought process with the types of uses that we want to do, we're confident Bill and the family want to proceed with the next step and possibly look at doing some development. So if you've got questions for me, I certainly can.
Why do those 2 back ones have to be R3? They
Because
look
that's
like,
the only zoning that would allow a condominium to have more than one house on a parcel. A condominium doesn't create lot lines, so that's why you need R3 zoning.
like a 0 lot line would be,
But I don't have enough public road frontage to get a 0 lot line lot in there.
okay.
You need public road to get 0 lot line. So again, a condominium, you could create a space where a person could build a house, but there's technically no lot lines in there. The frontage is really just the narrow part that touches the street, the actual road. That's the only part that's actually the frontage. The rest is private.
Do those work for snow plowing and?
Yep.
Are
The
they-
radius is inside there,
private as
same
well,
size.
and it's not
They're-
public, so.
So the village wouldn't be responsible for plowing?
And we do the same
Wasn't there a
size.
problem with that recently? I mean,
Not necessarily the plowing of, so you're thinking of Zenway, right? So this
the,
would be identical.
just the
development.
narrow,
Yeah,
the
it's
narrowness.
a private development, they decided.
And then the
upon-
residents come back a few years later and say, can you take on our road?
And we
the board can
continue to
say
say
no.
no.
And the board, but this
Like we
last
did the
one,
last time.
it wasn't the residents requesting it, it was the developer.
Okay,
requesting it.
okay.
Yeah, and I already know that the size of those two pockets on there, they're not wide enough to do a public road. We already know that. However, if we do the wetland delineation and it turns out it is wide enough, we'd probably go that route. People like single-family ownership. I'm not gonna, over a condominium, they definitely like it, but there are places for the condominium-type developments too, so. I know Scott Sonneman's project that he did, he's selling them up as fast as he can put them in there, so.
And those
They're
condos
nice.
are nice.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
what these
not-
would be, very similar.
But you like to be able to park a few cars in your driveway.
It's a different way of life. You know, they don't all have three-stall garages, they don't have parking for, you know, cars on the street everywhere. Anything else?
Anyone else? No?
Thank you.
Mr. Beto? Didn't mean to call you Mr. Verbicker.
Yeah, I know, I heard that.
You had $1 every
Haven't
time.
even met him yet, so.
Wow. All right, we'll put a word in for you. All right. Any other discussion on this item? So we've got before us this evening a motion to approve or deny the area development plan for Chambers Land and Investment Enterprises Incorporated. Is there anyone who would like to offer a motion on this?
I'd like to offer a motion to approve the area development plan for Chambers Land and Investment Enterprise Incorporated.
Second.
Trustee Stevens has offered a motion of approval for the area development plan for Chambers Land and Investment Enterprises Incorporated. That has been seconded by Trustee McKeefery this evening. Any further questions or discussion on this particular item? I will ask for a roll call on this, please.
Trustee Sheedy.
Aye.
Trustee Stevens.
Aye.
Trustee Eckert.
Nay.
Trustee McKeefery.
Aye.
President Van Rossum.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Item number 9 this evening, Finance Department items, revisions to Chapter 6, Parent 2, Parent O of the Village Personnel Policy Manual. Director Demony,
I will take it.
nuts.
Sorry. So this was a discussion that came out of our HR audit earlier this year. I hope you were able to take a moment to read it before the meeting. I won't get into all the weeds, but essentially, what we like to do is move from a reimbursement to a per diem process for meal reimbursement. I've worked in communities that have had both, and I find the per diem is far more efficient. We're not chasing down receipts. If somebody spends $1 extra on a meal, we're not asking them to write us a check for $1. It's just much more efficient for us to do the per diem process. Any questions or concerns on that one?
That's the only change?
Yeah.
You said, okay.
Correct.
Well, being the fact that I have to do expense reports for some 85 board members on any given time, I wish they were all per diems because it would be a lot easier. So I'm all for it. Anybody else with questions or discussion on this?
Are there a lot of expenses that happen with the employees?
It's not often.
Okay.
And if everybody had a village credit card, maybe it wouldn't be such an issue. But we have some employees that will go on conferences and do not have a village credit card, and that just adds another layer of tracking that, again, the per diem would just be far more efficient.
I guess the only thing, having been traveled the world, some of these per diems on these conferences, you can get yourself upside down where the GSA per diem is way low. If you're sending people to New York City,
And
having them sit in a hotel, it's not even good. I think you have to make exceptions when you run into that. because I don't think employees should have to be spending their own money because the per diem is an average in some places, some zones. And I know that there's places where you can see, if you're going to New York or LA or Chicago, it's different than, Green Bay. But just, I would just ask, just be careful on that.
And as the administrator, I still have the authority to approve over, but
Yeah.
they're using the GSA regardless if it's a reimbursement or if it's a per diem. So that doesn't change through this policy.
So one of the practices, so there's, prior to travel, one of the practices is there has to be a submission for travel approval. And whoever is traveling has a responsibility to go out, look at their flights, right? Because everybody likes to travel differently, and they need to look at their accommodations. And then there are certain prescribed amounts for meals that are regardless. And they need to submit that, and then that goes in for approval, and then there's that discussion back and forth. So if somebody says, I've got a conference in New York City, to your point, I'm looking at $100 a night a room, well, you're not gonna make it, right? On the other hand, if they're going to, Kiwani, and they want $500 for a room, that's not gonna work either. You've got some idea. So there's that approval process. I'm assuming you'll have some of that approval process.
We already have it.
That's what you're, exactly.
Do we have many in New York, Chicago, or Kiwani?
Kiwani, no. No, we don't.
Those are just examples.
It doesn't happen often, but for the times it does happen, it just makes everyone's life a little bit easier in the office to not have to.
They're
chase
usually
down
in
receipts.
Wisconsin, right?
Generally in Wisconsin, correct.
Any other further questions, discussion? I'll offer a motion to approve the revisions to Chapter 6, Parent 2, Parent O of the Village Personnel Policy Manual as recommended and discussed. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from trustee Sheedy on this item. Last chance, any further discussion, questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item number 10, discussion on future agenda items. Anybody have a future agenda item that they want to discuss? Anything? Chicken related?
No.
Signs related?
Just a reminder, we do not have another village board meeting until Monday, July 20th, as we have the 6th off. If there is a need that comes up, we'll call a special meeting.
Will you miss us?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Oh,
So I don't know.
I think we need
I
another village
appreciate
meeting
your
to discuss
honesty.
employment.
awesome. I'm getting there.
Getting closer.
Okay?
I just have one question. I don't know where you bring this topic. I mean, it's health and safety. But it's, and I don't have a lot of data to support this, but I don't know if anybody else has noticed so far these motorized scooters and the bikes. I'm not talking about just the two, but I'm talking these motorbikes that clearly their younger kids are driving, and they're fast. And so I don't know what kind of ordinance we have, just from a safety perspective, but I've witnessed, kids going by me 30 miles an hour on these things, and without helmets, of course. And I'm not here to be their parent, but it just seems like there's just a growing more and more of these things on the streets, and they're not on the sidewalks. They're jumping out of ditches and down the street. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that stuff, and if anybody else has concerns like I do.
I mean, I see kids racing around.
How do you enforce it?
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Well, what we do enforce is the state statutes as they relate to them. And as I would say with most things, if you're seeing something that is unsafe, you need to call it in as it's happening. And that way we can have a patrol officer go out there and check it out. That's the best way that we can handle it at this time.
they're already a couple miles down the road.
Yep. But coming up, a day later, we're not able to do anything about that. So if you like, we can go to health and safety and at least review what we do enforce and what other communities are enforcing. And if the Health and Safety Committee has a desire to make changes, they can make a recommendation.
I'd second that.
Yeah, just explore it and see what, again, I'm just trying to keep kids safe.
Well, and people too. I mean, getting hit by a kid on a 35 mile, going 35 miles an hour on a bike, it's not going to be good for the kid. It's not going to be good for you either.
Well, it's not good for the sidewalk either.
It's also,
I don't think they can legally be on the sidewalk, can they?
Yeah,
Depends on your ordinances, but Howard does not allow it on their sidewalks.
Right.
okay, we'll have to review it, public health and safety. Okay, anything else? If nothing else, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Trustee McKeefery has offered a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting of the Suamico Village Board. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from trustee Sheedy. All those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting of the Suamico Village Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
So
Motion carries
you
5-0.
don't want to leave.